So Derrick, I just wanted to thank you so much for identifying those people on the peripheral or who find themselves in non-traditional or traditional work environments, and just the freedom and permission and mindset shift that is necessary to think outside the box, identify that third way, recognize that if we have these financial goals that we want to get after, it is available to us if we can tap into some community collaboration and our own creativity and finding purpose and allowing that to drive us. It's a beautiful thing that you've identified, and I just have gratitude for what you've spoken to our audience. And for the one final question that we have for this main portion of our interview with you, you talk about an eternal economy and how we need to be investing in that. Can you say more?
Yeah, so one of the parts of my book, it's actually chapter 36, the very last chapter, and it talks about this whole concept of, do I give money now versus waiting till I have more money to give later? And this is a very common analysis that economists make, and they talk about this time value of money. So let's say you've got $1,000 and you say to yourself, well, I could give $1,000 today, but if I wait for 10 years and it grows by 5 to 10% a year, that might be $10,000. Think of the impact I could have then. Or maybe I should wait till I die to really bequest or give this money to these organizations. And what I want to do is I want to flip that thinking upside down and say, the present value of money when it comes to giving to the causes you care about is always greater than the future value. Well, that makes no sense to mathematicians or economists, but I want to tell you why. It's because of the return on impact that you can have. For example, let's you use both of you in a non-charitable way. If you both waited 10 years and say, you know what, we want to grow our email list, or I want to grow the business first, then we'll launch the podcast, there'd be 10 years worth of impact to people who need your work about frugality that missed out. I mean, they would not have a better life because you wouldn't have launched this podcast. By the same token, if I decide not to give money to a cause I care about, let's say it's helping provide clean drinking water, well then for 10 years or whatever that time is I would wait, there's people's lives who are going to miss out on clean water because I didn't give right now. Now, is there a way to balance both? Well, of course there is. But I want to tell people that may have thought up to this point, I've only got $5, I've got $20, $100, what can I do? That $5 can breathe life into somebody. It can express belief into someone. It can help extract the potential they've got to help change the world. And all of those things add up. So my point is, you think about the eternal economy, start giving now, make it part of your practice that you have. And as you make more money, you're already in the habit with the small. And as the dollar amounts increase, it's automatically that groove in your brain that you've already carved out just to keep doing more of it. And you'll find, again, I like to go back to what's in it for me. You'll have that daily fulfillment that you're making an impact. Even if you're living hand to mouth right now, if you took $5 and gave it, in the time it took to give the $5, you are in control of that $5. And you get to determine the good you can do with it. That's a powerful emotion to take on and say, boy, that felt really good. It would feel even better if that was $20 or $100 or more. What can I now do to go make more money where I'm at, to experience more of that feeling and make more of that impact?
Yeah, I like that consideration of return on investment and return on impact. So for wherever we find ourselves, whether we're really financially minded or generosity minded or others minded, there's room for us to find ourselves within this narrative and what's going to work for us, what's our why, to connect to that, to get at some of these action steps towards these goals.
Yeah. And I feel like we often talk a lot about like charity organizations and other, professional philanthropic things. But like, Jill, I know you do this all the time. You just have like a people fund in your budget to like make an impact with people you see in front of you who have a need. And if you only have $5, $10, $20 a month, how much more impactful is it to use that on the people in your community? And so you can feel even better about it because it's like, oh, my $5 is going to get just like lost in a sea of donations. But you can have like just buying a coffee for somebody who looks like they're having a bad day, or something like really meaningful like that. And all the while doing this, you're building this habit of generosity, because what you do with little is what you will do with a lot. And so we can't just like wait until a certain time's like, okay, once I make this, then I will be generous. Like, it's a habit that you have to build. And we talk about habits all the time. Building this habit of generosity is no different.
I could not agree with you more. And what I want to do is I hope that this conversation puts this within reach of people to say, oh, I thought as a bad money belief I didn't know I had, that I had to have a lot of money to make an impact. And I want to press the reset button. All successful press the reset button often. And let's join us here as we press that and think of a new way to think that, look, going forward, my past has passed. It's in the rear view. We're looking through the windshield, and how do we change our lives to be what we want it to be? I mean, ultimately, not to get too philosophical here, we all get one life on this earth. And if we want to make the impact we want, start now. Small steps in the right direction are better than fast steps without a plan. And we want to make sure that we're on the right path. And this, I believe, is the key to do it.
Speaking of identifying something that we can do right now in the present, investing, having impact. And we've talked about Dave and Deborah, but there's someone missing we need to talk about here.
It's missing from this conversation for sure.
Bill of
the week. Here we go. That was it. Derrick,
go.
We don't correct our mistakes on this podcast. Derrick, every week we invite a listener or a guest to share with us their bill, and we know you've got a good one. Can you share it with us?
So actually, if I can, I'm going to share two bills. One, I actually shared earlier, which was finding a way to pay my mortgage down quicker. And I called on that bill, was able to capture those costs and then put it toward that particular bill, which saved me quite a bit of money. But I want to talk about a different bill and go down a different direction here. So a friend of mine named Bill, very appropriately, invited me to a Dallas Cowboys game last season. And what he did was he parked at the very edge of the parking lot. And we walked a long way into the game, okay? It took quite a while. And I began thinking, why did he park there? Well, then as we left the game and we walked to the car, we were literally out in 1, 2, 3 turns. We were already escaping the parking lot madness. And what it taught me was if you put in the time and the work on the front end, it makes the back end a whole lot easier, because we often remember how the event ended than how it started. My wife and I went to a concert one time, and it was this muddy field where they had this concert. It took us 4 hours to escape the parking lot. The concert was great, but there was always a stigma with it afterwards, like, yeah, it was good, but that parking issue really dampened it. When Bill parked at the edge of the parking lot, it gave the entire day just a bow to say, plan ahead, and you really reap the rewards on the back end.
Beautiful. You've got the friends.
Oh, wow.
the stories. It's amazing. So much there. I mean, we got double billed, and I
liked that double bill. Yeah, I liked that one.
Well, if you all who are listening want to submit a bill, if your bill friend is a future thinker and it involves metaphors that can be translated into other parts of your life and become lifelong lessons, or you just, you've got a dollar bill. It doesn't matter. We'll take it all. Visit frugalfriendspodcast.com/bill. Leave us your bill. And now it's time for
the lightning round. Pew, pew, pew. I always love to see the faces of our guests whenever we do that. It's such a joy to me.
I'm going to brace myself here.
Who knows what comes next?
Right. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
This is the vulnerable part of the show, where our podcast manager Goldie has given us a question to answer, and we will all answer the same question. And it's, what would you do if you had all the money you needed in the world? And so I liked the caveat of all the money you needed. in the world. And as our guest, Derrick, you can go first.
Well, I mean, at first it would feel good to have all the money I needed, but how I'm wired is I think back in this moment to key decisions I've made, it's always putting myself in a created dependency situation. And so what I would probably do is I would give a large portion of the money away to create enough drive in me or a gap that would cause me to keep wanting to make more of it. Just because even back when I was a kid, that's what drove me to kind of break out of this midlife thing that I had, and even growing to middle class. All those pieces were just things that money was a motivator. It was a game for me, and knowing how to play by the rules and help other people make more of it helped me make more. So that's what I would do with that.
I love
That's
that
really
answer.
cool. Yeah. I have all the money in the world, but I'm going to give it all away so that I create a problem, so that I can solve that problem.
Because
Because I'm
things, I
still
mean,
alive and I want to do things with my
if you're not
time.
like learning, you're not growing, and things that don't, I mean, this is also more, but things that are not growing are dead. Like, so
Yes.
like, yeah, I mean, it's so wise.
I mean, I hate to put words in your mouth, but to me, this lands at one of the core fundamental issues with the FIRE movement. I'm not trying to speak for you. This is just my take
Hot
on it,
takes.
that when you get to that point of I have all that I need, this idea of now I'm just going to sit back and relax. I know many choose to not do that, but it's for that very reason. We're still living, breathing creatures who need purpose, and we're going to need to identify something to do with our time, energy, resource, attention. And so I think you're just identifying that. Like, it doesn't matter if money's no object, that doesn't change the core of who you are and your
Right.
own needs for growth and purpose.
Yeah. Jill, how are you going to follow that one up?
It's really similar, and I love this question because I was recently talking about this with somebody, of seeing greater success, particularly financially, in our lives with the things that both myself and my husband have set our hands to. We've received some questions from folks of well, what will you do if, like, you don't have to work? If money's no object, what would you do? And it has been a question in my mind of what are my desires? So much of my life has been spent around working because I have to pay the
Yeah.
bills. I
Yeah.
have to. And to realize I'm not quite there yet, but I'm on that cusp where it's a valid question. I'm so grateful for that. And frugality is a lot of why I'm finding myself here. But similarly, I have to set my hands to something that I view as purposeful. I think it'd be really amazing to not have to do some of the things that, might not be as enjoyable to me. But I know that I wouldn't be able to just sit around soaking up the sun and eating tasty treats. I would need to be helping others. I would need to be, so I think it would create for me freedom. I'd need to find some sort of purpose. It would give me more time for my creative outlets. I'd probably garden a lot more. I'd probably go boating a lot more, but I would still need a regular structure and routine where I'm giving back to others. Of course, I would love the opportunity to like take all of my friends and family on like an amazing vacation. But beyond that, I definitely need to be of value. I need to be solving problems. I need to be creative. I need to be helping others. So I'm not certain all that much would change in my life. I think I like the way we live. I want to continue to live simply. It would just create more opportunity for growth and care of those around me. What about you, Jen?
I love that. So similarly, I mean, I feel identically about the FIRE movement because I always want to be doing something. I am not happy unless I'm creating. And so I think, and this is maybe just fresh, and this is like a theoretical answer maybe, but we for the past 6 months have been like shopping for an investment property, and hopefully by the time this comes out that everything is, I mean, we had to change our strategy several times because in St. Petersburg, the housing market is just, it's insane. Like it's gone past crazy and chaotic, and it's almost like to the point where I think it's unjust how expensive things are here, and like regular people like just cannot afford to rent or buy. And so I think I would take money and try to solve the affordable housing problem that we have in St. Petersburg, Florida. I think that would be my definition of enough. If I could had enough money to beat out these cash investors from around the country who are buying up our city, I would just just buy all the places and sell them at what people can afford and rent them at what people can afford.
So good.
Problems
so
of
good.
injustice.
Yeah.
Derrick, thank you so much for joining us in this conversation, sharing your perspective, tangible tools, tips, things for us to latch on to and run with and find our own way in the midst of it. If people want to hear more from you, where can they get that?
Well, you can go to actually goodmoneychapters.com, and we've set up a special promotion to download the first 5 chapters for free. So goodmoneychapters.com for the book Good Money Revolution. And Instagram is really the crowd favorite, Derrick T. Kinney. And we post daily videos on how people can make more money, do more good, and add more value to people's lives. And let me just say, Jen and Jill, I have really enjoyed this conversation. I can see why your listeners tune in every single week. Thanks for having me. It was an honor to be with you today.
Thanks for being here and
Yes.
putting up with all of our yelling.
Thank you so much, Derrick.
Why they stick around.
It was great. I loved it. Thank you.